for your life to never be the same.
Sometimes story-based games take a long time setting up their premise and characters. This can be to its detriment. Vice versa, not enough time can leave you scratching your head. With that in mind, the Chant walked a thin line, and it was extremely difficult for me to know whether it didn't spend enough time or the right amount of time setting itself up, like knowing when to leave your mate's party before everyone starts bashing each other or crying. I believe this is because it comes down to the writing juxtaposed to the voice acting. At times, what is being voice animated and conveyed all feels slightly off. Some performances are great, but what they're reading couldn't be delivered well in any instance. This is all an over-analysis though, and I'm just being picky. The opening sets itself up quickly and sticks you in the deep end fast. You play as Jess. Having deep emotional traumas from a tragic accident as a child, she is persuaded to join what is basically a cult. I'm pretty sure that's why everyone wants to join a cult unless it's by birth, which is just bad luck. So Jess, off the bat, is pretty stupid, but anyway, here we are. Ex-best friend Kim, which also deals with the same issues, and by issues I mean she was there for such event, has invited Jess in hopes to rekindle their friendship and also help with each other's burdens. The commune is made up of the leader, Tyler, a narcissist, which is extremely easy to discern, Simon, a young entrepreneur obsessed with the island and the fact he could invest and make a lot of money, so greed and inflated ego. Kim, that deals with IED, which takes all of 30 minutes to see how much that could affect her day-to-day life and people around her. Maya, which has never gotten over the death of her son, which is her fault indirectly, being that she was an anti-vaxxer, and in turn got her son killed. Hannah, one of Tyler's followers that is shy and oblivious as to the convenience for Tyler to have her around. And finally, yourself, Jess, to go over some of her traumas from what I discussed earlier, her sister's death, which is sort of not really her fault, which I won't get into. But it's enough to fuck with her, and for the rest of her life, and Kim's life for that fact. What unfolds for these characters starts with them sitting around for a ritual, which at first seems like sitting around drinking mushroom tea, that quickly turns into a cosmic nightmare. And then the game begins. The Chant deals with a lot of mental health stuff. Depression, anxiety, depersonalization, intermittent explosive disorder, narcissism, panic, grief, and PTSD to name a few. The reason I bring this up isn't just to discuss the themes and nature of what it does with this, but because I ask the question, does this game have the right to discuss heavy topics? What I mean is you can't use mental health to contextualize your character's decisions. For example, oh, she killed everyone because she was depressed. It comes across as lazy writing in what we constantly see in horror games. Mental health isn't for contextualization, or it isn't a character trait. It's an illness, and not something that makes up the ego of your conscious character within a written world. I can happily say the Chant doesn't fuck this up. Yes, the characters have issues as to why they've joined the retreat to find some sort of peace, but it isn't in poor taste. It doesn't over-linger on the themes. It doesn't try to overly convey what I can only describe as mental illness stereotypes. What I'm trying to say is, a character's personality isn't their mental illness, and the Chant gets this aspect correct, and it didn't fall into these cheap character-building traps. The island itself is pretty, and the setting is what got me interested. To begin with, it gave me Rosemary Baby vibes, and by the end, I got Annihilation vibes. That's because there is legitimate shimmers of light that once you move through, you're thrusted into a reality beyond the veil of our own. The cult calls this the gloom, and it references it throughout. It's a quite on-the-nose motto, and it's an iceberg which I'll leave to some other content creator with far more time than me. Interdimensional beings feed off of negative emotion inside the gloom. The island's deep history is a corner store of these beings. Crystals is what started it all, and many notes found around the island set up an even deeper underlining layer of horror which creates great world building. For example, a mining operation in which people actually collected these crystals caused the small mining community to go completely insane. The game has great environmental storytelling. Mixed with the notes creates a feeling of a truly lived-in haunted reality. I'm not one for notes and audio logs, in this game audio logs being replaced by 8mm film reels, but they get it also right and it fits everything perfectly, so I'm not one to complain. The moment-to-moment gameplay is simple on the surface level, but item management is a must, and you can easily find yourself shit out of luck in terms of a weapon if you don't pick your fights carefully. Enemies can easily rock your set if you don't keep something strapped up, and I don't mean a 9mm, I'm talking about your gym bros smelling salts. That's right, in tandem with the theme of cults and otherworldly beings, your weapon of choice is your mum's favourite incense, which can be mashed together with what can be found in the environment. And you know what? It works. Throwing salts and spilling essential oils on the ground using sage sticks to ward off baddies, they all have their own positive and negatives, and it makes for a charming and original weapon set in which I enjoyed thoroughly. You'll be bashing and throwing salt within our reality as well as the gloom. Eldritch beings feed on the human condition. They are powerful and can rip you apart, and sometimes I wish I could hack away at them with an axe, manhunt style. The gloom has affected the wildlife as well on the island, physically in every way. Notes claim their organs are even otherworldly. Gigantic mutated frogs, spiders, and even people within the gloom. In our reality, the cultist enemies come in a small variety, with each of their own representations. They wear an animal skull to their corresponding names. Rams is depression and anxiety, bears, anger and ego, deer, apathy and grief, and horses, narcissism and self-hatred. They all have their own movesets and their abilities. Again, the thoughtful nature to every facet of the gameplay made my experience with the Chant a positive one, and for a small team, I implore anyone with an interest in horror games to pick this one up. I hard-eye emoji AA devs, and they are the last of the Mohicans when it comes to an artistic depiction and new ideas. Do I recommend the Chant? Well, joining a cult is a bad idea, and this game proves it, so picking this one up would be a good idea. I think AAA developers create a lot of games because it is for profit. They're a business, I understand. AAA devs, such as the guys that made this, obviously did it as a passion project, and you can see it within everything they've done within the game. All the details, all the storytelling, the enemies, the design, every enemy has a thought put into it. So, yeah, I highly recommend the Chant, and I'm glad I gave it a go. I'm excited for the rest of the year. There's some really cool games still to come out. The Castello Protocol. I'll be doing another long review for that as well, because Striking Distance is really run by someone that is just like the guys that made this. Passionate. So that's definitely one to look out for when that comes around. It will probably be longer than this one. I'm still getting used to how I structure these platforms, these reviews. Again, my long reviews will be for games that are coming out, that are new IPs, and then my shorter reviews will be for games that everyone and their mother will touch on eventually. But hey, thanks for listening for 10 minutes. I personally can't believe it. I can't even listen to my own thoughts for half of that, so thank you so much. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more, and comment your thoughts on the Chant down below.
Daughter, hand me the final prism. Take your place. Where has she gone? Find her. Bring her back to me.